news. The former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson has died at the age of 76. He was the first foreign manager of the England team. Prince William paid tribute to his charisma and passion for the game. Tributes have been pouring in for Sven-Göran Eriksson, who's died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 76. He was England's first foreign manager and was seen at his peak as one of football's finest coaches. During his tenure, his varied private life was also closely followed by the tabloid papers. Prince William, who's head of the Football Association, called him a true gentleman of the game. Andy Swiss looks back at his life.
He brought a Swedish cool to English football. But behind that studious surface, Sven-Göran Eriksson's reign was anything but dull. He'd made his managerial name first with Gothenburg and then with the Italian side Lazio. But when England appointed him as Kevin Keegan's replacement in 2000, it sparked a storm of controversy. England had never had a foreign coach before, but if the traditionalists were upset, Eriksson was unflappable.
If it's the most difficult job, I'm very happy, and then it will be my biggest challenge so far in my life.
And he soon silenced his critics on a famous night in Munich.
Oh, this is getting better and better and better!
A 5-1 thrashing of Germany, and suddenly Eriksson seemed England's saviour. They qualified for the 2002 World Cup in dramatic fashion. The feel-good factor was back, and Eriksson was the architect. But qualification was followed by frustration. England were beaten in the quarter-finals by Brazil, and his passive management style was under scrutiny. Come the 2004 Euros, it was the same story.
Oh, he's put it miles over the bar.
As England again went out in the quarter-finals, the questions began to mount. By now, Eriksson's private life was attracting headlines. His relationships with the Italian lawyer Nancy Dell'Olio, with the TV star Ulrika Jonsson, and with Faria Alarm, an FA employee, which prompted turmoil at the organisation. And after he told an undercover reporter he'd consider quitting after the 2006 World Cup, the FA announced he'd leave following the tournament. England went into it with high hopes, their team dubbed the Golden Generation. But yet again, they crashed out in the quarter-finals, yet again on penalties. Eriksson later said it was the biggest disappointment of his career.
I don't think England was ready to win a World Cup 2002. 2006, yes, England should have done better. And if you take all the defeats I had in my life, that was the hardest one.
After leaving the England job, Eriksson spent a year at Manchester City, followed by a string of other clubs. He was never short of offers. And after being diagnosed with cancer, the affection for him was plain to see. In March, the lifelong Liverpool fan managed a Legends team at Anfield. One of his assistants that day remembers how poignant it was.
What you see is what you get. A very successful manager. He got really emotional, you know, at the end of the game. You could see, you know, when we done the lap of honour, I was lucky enough to be by him, and again he kept on saying, "This is so special."
It was the fondest of farewells to a gracious man and to one of England's most groundbreaking managers.
Sven-Göran Eriksson, who's died at the age of 76.
The footballing world is tonight remembering the former England manager Sven-Goran Eriksson, who has died at the age of 76. The Swede became the first foreign manager of the England men's team in 2001, coaching the so-called golden generation of players. But earlier this year, he revealed he'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Prince William described him as a true gentleman of the game. Our sports editor Steve Scott reports.
As the first foreigner to take charge of England, Sven-Göran Eriksson was confronted by a mountain of xenophobia from the outset. Terry Venables and Bobby Robson had been the popular choices to replace Kevin Keegan, so the Swedes' unveiling proved uncomfortable.
I can't do anything about it. I'm a Swede and that's it. I've been offered the job and here I am. So the only thing we must hope is that we're going to play good football and do good results.
Eriksson soon turned the tide when, helped by his choice as captain David Beckham, he steered England to the World Cup in Japan and South Korea. But it was a campaign that ended in the quarter-finals against the eventual winners Brazil. Emil Heskey was a mainstay in Eriksson's England squads.
He would just be very calm and precise in what he wants and how to implement it. And that was key for me, to be honest with you, because obviously you've grown up in that era where everything's shouted at you, and when someone really says it calm, you're able to go and do that.
His high profile meant front as well as back page attention, but an affair with TV presenter Ulrika Jonsson, 19 years his junior, still shocked many. At the time, he was in a long-term relationship with lawyer Nancy Dell'Olio. By then, though, Eriksson had won over most England fans. But given the players at his disposal, the so-called golden generation, who clearly enjoyed his leadership, a last 8 defeat, this time against hosts Portugal at Euro 2004, felt like another missed opportunity. As did Eriksson's final tournament with England, the 2006 World Cup in Germany. Another quarter-final exit, again to Portugal, and Eriksson's swan song proved as frustrating as all his previous big tournaments. Under him, England were actually worse than the sum of their parts.
I'm sorry for the squad. I'm sorry for the fans. Really sorry, because I think with all the fans we have out there, they deserve to have a team in the semi-final or in the final.
After England, he had short stints at Manchester City as director of football for new wealthy owners at Notts County, and also a spell at Leicester City. Those jobs were interspersed with leading other clubs and national teams overseas, but he never again reached the heights of his England role. Of all those who've led the Three Lions, he remained one of the most popular, which is why, when he revealed he hadn't got long left, the support for him was warm and widespread. A Liverpool fan, Eriksson was invited to manage an all-star legends team earlier this year, an enduring ambition finally fulfilled. In one of his last interviews, he reflected, "Don't be sorry, smile." Sven-Goran Eriksson certainly followed his own advice on that very special day at Anfield.
The former England manager Sven-Goran Eriksson, who has died at the age of 76.